Carbon dating suggests the world's oldest Koran may be older than the Prophet Muhammad, according to a misleading headline that was crafted specifically to make atheists on the internet jizz in their pants. Let me start by saying that regardless of when the Koran was first written, Muhammad did not get any divine revelation from God about anything ever, because there is no God. Some people believe that anyway. They're wrong, but this specific research is not the research you're looking for if you want to convince Muslims that their religion is wrong. The University of Birmingham has a really old Koran, and some researchers there took it to the University of Oxford in order to have it radiocarbon dated. And carbon dating is really fascinating and very important to archaeologists and anthropologists who want to place an item within a specific time span. You can't necessarily narrow it down to the exact year, but you can get fairly close as long as the piece was produced sometime in the past 50,000 years. So in this case, the researchers found that this particular Koran dated from somewhere between 568 and 645 AD. And Muhammad supposedly got his revelation sometime between 570 AD and 632 AD when he died. So right there, you have a lot of overlap between these two spans of time in which the Quran could have been produced after Muhammad's death, as is generally accepted. For instance, he died in 632. This research shows that the parchment could date to around 645. Done. Even if that overlap wasn't there, if, for instance, this research showed that the Quran must have been produced sometime before 570, then it still wouldn't prove that the Quran was produced before Muhammad's death, because this dates the actual parchment, which could have been created long before it was written on. You see, parchment is animal skin, and radiocarbon dating works by measuring the amount of a specific isotope of carbon that is left in something, and then working backward to find out when that organism stopped collecting carbon. For a plant, they collect carbon from the atmosphere. Animals get it from plants and from other animals that eat plants. So in other words, radiocarbon dating tells us when an animal died, because over the years, that isotope will decay at a very understood and stable rate. So for this research, we know that the animal in question died between 568 and 645, but we don't know when that animal was skinned or when that skin underwent the long process of being turned into parchment, or when that parchment was then written on. Testing the ink would get us a little bit closer to figuring out when the parchment was written on, but that's not totally reliable either, because there's not a lot of carbon in little bits of ink, and there tends to be a lot of commingling with the carbon on the parchment. It's really fascinating how researchers like this use techniques like radiocarbon dating and others to pinpoint dates. That's the story here. That, and maybe the fact that this is one of the oldest, if not the oldest, Qurans in the world, which helps us get a better idea about the founding of Islam, which is really cool. That's the story. It's not worth taking this research and misinterpreting it and then forming an atheist circle jerk around it and pretending as though it suddenly debunks Islam. It doesn't, and pretending that it does just makes atheists look stupid.